Drinking dead baby milk for my money rituals. This is what I have been doing in order to sustain my wealth. Brother Nashi, how are you? Please post my story as hidden identity. I am a Zimbabwean man who ended up doing these money rituals because of the way that I was suffering of poverty. There is no one that wants to come to a country and then you go back to your country with nothing. My soul is dead. I have already sold my soul to the devil. I know where I am going after this life, and what I fear is death. To those that have not yet witnessed death, when you are someone that have sold your soul, you do not know how much scary it is to die. Even if you are a sinner and you have not yet sold your soul, when you die, at least you are placing your soul in the life of the Creator, not for someone like me. When I spoke with one of the sangomas that was assisting me in the last couple of years, when he died, it was the most scariest death that I had ever witnessed. I was with him in the ICU, and it was as if there was something that was breaking his bones. He was trying to fight death. He did not want to die. Even the wife, she could not stand it. I was the only one, and then there was another nurse that was in there. She was the one that could stand the sound of the bones that were breaking. The way that he was a couple of days before he had passed away, it was so scary. His mouth was open, his eyes were just open, he was not even blinking. They ended up putting something like a suction mask on his eyes so that his eyes won't get dry, because he was unable to close his eyes anymore. That man, he suffered in the last days when he passed away. To those that are still in sin, at least pray for the day that you die, so that you can die in peace. You do not want to be collected by the demons, them coming to collect you and telling you that you are going to hell with them. That is the kind of a death that I am going to be experiencing. I wish to be like those money rituals that have died in accidents. It is far much better. I would prefer to be shot with a gun so that death can come to me quickly, or to just die in my car and to be burnt to death. It is far much better than to have a sickness like the one that I witnessed on that Sangoma from Durban. He suffered, that man. And if it will ever happen that I get sick like that, and if I get to know that my time is up, I would rather drink something so that I can just leave this earth before witnessing the things that the Sangoma told me that he was witnessing. Whenever I would go to visit him, he would tell me that he would always see this tall black man that was scared, that would walk into the hospital where he was. And I'm talking about, this was an expensive private hospital that can cost you more than 30K a day just to sleep at that hospital. He had all the machines on him, but there was something that was spiritual that was happening. He said that those men, they would come and then they would start to break his bones bit by bit, bit by bit, and they were also blocking him so that he won't continue to breathe anymore. That is how those men were hurting him each and every day. He said to me, I am giving you a warning, young man. If you know what is good for you, walk away from any charm that I have given to you. The problem is that the Tokoloshes that he also gave to me, on top of the other Tokoloshes that I got, they are now like a team, and if I try to go and throw them away, they just return back to me, or they can make a Sangoma to be afraid of assisting me. Let me take you back to where my story started. Before I had even gone to a traditional healer, I came to South Africa from my country, Zim. It was in the year 2014. I was just looking for a dream of a better life. I am a professional, a highly skilled welder. I studied boiler making when I was still in my country. And when I came here, I thought that I was just going to get a job in the mine. But because of my lack of documentation, I was unable to secure a proper future. Everything I can say, it changed. It was in late 2015 when my biological mother, who was back in Zim, fell violently ill. She had a terminal heart condition. So out of panic and desperation, I then did what some of my countrymen would do. I used a little bit of the money that I had and I arranged for her to get onto the bus, and she was brought down to Joburg where I was staying so that she could get advanced medical treatment. As you know that in South Africa, they have the best medical treatment in the whole of Africa. When her condition worsened one Friday night, I rushed her to a nice private hospital. In my mind, I just thought that any hospital in South Africa can assist you for free. Little did I know that the hospital that was about 4 kilometers from where I was staying, it was a private hospital, and you won't get any kind of medical help before you pay anything. We were unable to go to the government hospital because of the distance. It was a long distance to go to the government hospital, but the private, it was very close to where we were staying. So I just thought that since I had been to a South African hospital before and I got treated for an STI free of charge, my mom could be assisted as well at the private clinic. And even though I knew that maybe I might have to pay something, but I had underestimated how much it is expensive to get medical treatment for someone that is a poor person in South Africa. And when we rushed there, we had even hired a car, and I thought that they were going to save her life immediately, but that was the night when I learned the most heartless lesson in South Africa. Private hospitals, they do not care. Even if you bring your child, your mother, your wife, even if she is about to die, they can't touch him if you do not have money. They will just tell you to go to the hospital. The problem was that the man that we had hired had already returned back to the location where we were staying. So I was unable to get him back in time. My mother was just gasping for air, and it was so scary, and we did not have money. You know, I sat down after they had taken me to the administrative admission desk, and then they gave me the quotation. Yo, guys, they said that they needed 50,000 cash upfront or a medical aid card. I was unable to get that money. I looked at that man with tears flowing down my face, and I said, where do you think that I'm going to get this 50,000? Look at me. I am not even worth 10 rand. And we rushed out of that hospital, and I eventually managed to get a public emergency ambulance, and they fetched my mother, and then we rushed off to Krisani Hospital. But it was as if the day was just made for my mother to die. When we arrived at the emergency section, Brother Nashi, you could not even believe that my mother, she died whilst they were taking her out of the ambulance. I still regret to this very day. When my mother died, it was because of time. If I had managed to convince that guy to take me to a government hospital, even though I did not have enough money, my mother was not going to die. I did not even have any shoes when I was at that hospital, and I just saw my mother. She was violently shaking on that stretcher, and I knew that it was over for my mother. I cried, Brother Nashi. I cried so much, such that even a security guard came to speak with me. At that time, life did not even matter anymore. I started to ask myself, what is the purpose of life? My mother had died like a dog whilst we were entering the government hospital. It was the most painful thing that I had ever experienced in my life, and it was very traumatic. So the reality of a sick relative, it had been very expensive to me. When you think that someone is expensive to transport to Zim, wait until that person is dead. When you are still alive, even with 1,000 rands, you can leave South Africa. But the moment that you die, it becomes a big challenge. Because what I did not know is that the government in South Africa will be trying to prove that this person that you are trying to carry to your country is a South African. But when that person is still alive, they are trying to prove that the person is non-South African. I do not know how the system works in South Africa. To transport my mother's body, since she did not have a passport, nothing. It was very difficult. We had to pay 24,000 rands. And for someone who was broke, who did not even have money, I did not have emergency money. Out of desperation, I returned back to the location where I was staying, since people, they already knew me and I had a lot of jobs that I still needed to complete in the location. So I borrowed money. I ended up borrowing 30,000 rands from a loan shark, umashonisa, as they call them in South Africa. And he knew that there was a place where I was going to be making some burglars as well as other things at that house that we were renovating, and I had only been given deposit of the money. So from there on, he was going to take the money, and then I would look for another job, and he would continue to get his money. We arrived at home in Zim. The funeral went well, and my mother was buried. When I returned back to Joburg, I continued to do my work, and those guys, they would come to my workplace every day. They would remind me that I was owing them. And what I did not know is that when you borrow money from a loan shark, what will kill you with depression, it is the interest of the money that will keep on growing. I did not know about this. I continued to work for these guys, and finally my mind was fully made up. I packed my small bag and I returned back to Zim. I went to Nyanga, where I had heard about a traditional healer who could help me, because I just wanted some form of good luck so that I can be able to finish my debt that I was owing to the Mashonisas, because I was afraid that if I do not pay them, they would hurt me, they would hurt my business. When I arrived at that shrine, at the traditional healer's shrine, and then the healer told me that even though I was someone on paper that was a professional boiler maker, I was supposed to be making a lot of money in the mine, but because of bad luck that I had, this was the reason as to why I was unable to progress in my life. And he even told me about the money that I was owing to the loan sharks, and he said that he was going to give me a charm, a lucky charm that was going to chase away all the bad luck that I had on my life. The traditional healer, he gave me that charm, and the moment that I returned back to Johannesburg, I can say that the moment that I crossed into South Africa, in those years I was using MTN. When I crossed back into South Africa, my phone started ringing. Even people on the bus, they were surprised, because every 5 minutes I was picking up a phone. White people that I had once worked with a long time ago, they were calling me. Some other black people, they were calling me. I have a house that needs burglars. I want a security gate. I want you to do a machine for me, those that had brickyards. And I could not even believe that this was what was happening. Within a month after I had returned back from that traditional healer, I received a phone call from an old friend of mine, a South African guy. He was from Guyana, but he was doing electrical stuff in Joburg. So he was doing tenders around the villages. And this guy, he then called me and he told me that he had been allocated a tender, but he wanted me to help him since he knew about my work he had gotten a tender to build those still water tanks that you see in big cities, and he had gotten that tender to maintain those still water tanks, and he said that he wanted me to become a subcontract. That is how I made my first 1 million in cash. I was even using his bank account because I was not yet sorted out. I started to date beautiful women. Life, it was so amazing, but I did not know that Satan, he will never give you a free lunch. Brother Nashi, every time when you are involved in occultic practices, even just by going to a traditional healer who does money rituals, you are getting yourself into a contract with the devil. I did not know that the occultic kingdom, it is run on spiritual laws, and they are what we call mikom and shona. These are the things that you are not supposed to do, what you are supposed to do. And that healer, he did not tell me the truth about this. He just told me to enjoy money. But as I was leaving, he said that I was never supposed to have unprotected sex with a pregnant woman whose pregnancy was not mine. So I just thought that he was just joking with me, because he had been telling me that when I make a lot of money, women, they will be throwing themselves at me, and I should just choose one so that I won't die of HIV, because he said I can't cure HIV, my boy. Women will rush to you, but you need to keep the zip on your trousers locked. So when he said that never sleep with a woman that is pregnant and the pregnancy is not yours, you are going to get hurt, I just thought that maybe spiritually there was something that was going to happen. So it was in 2018, I went to this other party invited by my South African friends. So I hooked up with a beautiful, nice, light-skinned South African woman, and she had the shape of an hourglass. She was very beautiful, and I did not know that she was pregnant for another guy, and she did not tell me. During our time when we were having sexual intercourse, I then removed the protection because I was looking at him, and I said, I can't avoid to sleep with this woman without protection. I just want to test him. He even was trying to block me, but I managed to seduce him, and we had unprotected intimacy with her that entire night. I did not even know what I had done. So because of the covenant I had messed up, I started to see that my life, I was experiencing a lot of bad luck again. I had multiple accidents. If it was not that I had money, I would be rotting in prison because I hit a woman and I had to pay that woman a lot of money so that she won't get me arrested, because I was even driving without a license. So my cousin sister back in Zim, she just collapsed and she died. No one even knows what happened to him. 2 weeks later, that is when he started to show that there was something that was happening. My auntie, who was my mother's young sister, she died. She just collapsed while she was getting into a taxi, and she passed away. And I saw her in a dream, and she was accusing me of killing her. It was something that I never thought would ever happen. In 2019, I started to see a Tokoloshe, a real Tokoloshe. It would appear in my room, and it would be looking at me. I became paralyzed. I was on a wheelchair for 6 months. I started to get so sick. I had a maid that was looking after me, that would take me to the toilet. At night it was so scary because I did not have anyone. That was when I was helped by that other Sangoma that I told you, who later passed away. I went to him after I had been referred to him by a friend. He also dealt with Tokoloshes, and he helped me to regain my strength, and I started to walk again. And then I was advised by that man to go back to the source where I had done those money rituals. I went back to that traditional healer, When I went back to that traditional healer, the healer then said to me, he knew that I was going to come back, and he wanted to cleanse me because I had slept with a woman that was pregnant and she was not pregnant for me. And we had to redo the covenant. And in order for me to keep on making money, we had to redo the covenant. I was supposed to get inside of a grave. When he said that you are going to go inside of a grave, I did not totally understand what he meant by that. So, Brother Nashi, they stripped me naked and they took me into the mountain, and they found a spot where they started to dig like a real grave. And then they made a coffin in that mountain. They just used some wooden planks that we had carried from the village, and they made me to lie down inside of that coffin. Before they sealed the lid on top of that coffin, the healer then took 2 snakes. I wanted to run away, but he told me that I was going to be crippled for life if I was not going to go ahead with that ritual to redo the covenant again. So there was a cobra as well as a green mamba. They put those 2 snakes inside of the coffin, and then they locked it, and they put me inside of the grave. I started to feel that they were busy burying me. I was buried alive in that coffin, and there were snakes that were there with me. This snake, they started to bite me because they were also agitated. They were nervous. When I would move, they would bite me. And Brother Nashi, it started to get so painful. It was really painful. I would feel as if there was someone that had thrown me inside a pot that was full of boiling water. I felt as if my blood, it was boiling. I started to vomit, and I was paralyzed. I was dying. I was waking up. I would feel that I have died, and then I would wake up. The snakes, they would bite me. The moment that I tried to move, they would bite me. This happened for an hour. Then after that hour, they dug up the coffin. They opened up the coffin. They pulled me out. I did not even know where I was at that time because I was swollen all over the place where the snakes had beaten me. The traditional healer did not take me to a doctor. They took me into this other grass hut that they had just made in the mountain. For 6 days, I was staying inside of that grass hut, and they gave me different types of herbs, and they did not even clean me. I remember urinating where they had left me. I was even doing poop where I was, and they would come and they would feed me with those charms that made the poison not to kill me, to keep me alive. Because I was paralyzed, I was unable to move. What they did, Brother Nash, is that they would give me sorghum porridge in Shona Botarema Funde. Because my jaws, they were completely locked tight, I was unable to do anything, and this is how they used to feed me. They took a bamboo stick, and then they forced that bamboo tube down my throat, and it was very painful, and they started to pour the porridge straight into my stomach. The pain that I would feel each and every time that they would put that bamboo stick inside of my mouth, I don't know how to explain it. Then you hear someone saying, I want you to give me money, with the pain that I had to go through in order for me to continue making money. It was just pure Satanism what was happening. Then finally, I was okay. The traditional healer then explained the process that had happened. He said that I had to do this to you so that we can create a new covenant. And a lot of people, they have died after they have been bitten by my 2 snakes. But it seems as if your ancestors, they have agreed for us to continue working together, because you cannot do money rituals without the approval of your ancestors. The healer then told me that from that day going onwards, Whenever I date a woman in South Africa, I must deliberately make her pregnant and to monitor her closely. The exact month her pregnancy reaches 6 months, the period when a woman starts to make milk inside of her breast, that is when I am supposed to start doing my sacrifices. Before I become intimate with a woman on that night, I am supposed to take a secret powder that I put it on top of my manhood, and when I sleep with her, the charms, they would rest on her mucus plug, and then later on this charm, it will start to create an egg, and out of that egg there will be a snake that will be born, that will start to eat at the mucus plug, and then it would enter into the womb, where it will start to feed on the baby that will be growing inside of her womb. The baby will die silently, not in a single day. The baby can take maybe a month for it to die. It will be moving slowly, no longer kicking so strong. And in that month, I am supposed to be sucking the breast. I am supposed to be drinking the milk as much as I can. That is what I was told by the Sangoma. So I returned back to Joburg, and when I returned back to Joburg, I started to sleep with women that I knew that they loved me because of the money that I had. I would sleep with them, and then those women, I would impregnate them. When she was around 6 months, then I would do that ritual where I would put the charms on my manhood, sleep with him, and then a snake will be born inside of her womb, and it will start to eat her unborn baby, and I would be sleeping with him when that will be happening, and I will be having her nipples inside of my mouth when I would be making love to her, pretending as if I'm being romantic. I have slept with a lot of these women, and they do not know that the reason as to why they end up having stillborn babies, it is because of this ritual. So the past year, I have been dating this South African woman. She is not like any other girl that I have dated. I met him by mistake. I had gone out shopping. So this woman, she parked car right next to my car, and I was angry. When I wanted to open the driver's door, I saw that her little quid, it was blocking me. I was unable to open my door, and I was angry. I said, I'm going to wait for this fool who does not know how to park properly. So I was just standing, waiting for that person. I waited for nearly 35 minutes. That was when I saw him. At first, I just looked at her and I said, hey, South Africa has beautiful women. Aish. And then she was the one who came to that little lunch box. And she was like, oh, Askies, I'm really sorry. Please let me pull out, and then you can be able to enter. I'm really sorry. So she was really nice. I was angry, but somehow I just said it is okay. So before she had left, I begged for her phone numbers. I think she gave me the phone numbers because she was just nervous looking at me the way that I was angry. And then I started to speak with her, and from there on we started dating. So Brother Nashim, right now she is officially pregnant with our first child, and I don't know what I am supposed to do. I really do not know, because very soon she will be 6 months pregnant, and once she is 6 months pregnant, I am supposed to do that ritual. The problem is that my Tokoloshes that are in my apartment, they have gone wild. They come to me, they tell me that they want me to do that ritual as I have been instructed by the traditional healer. Otherwise, they are going to kill me. Worse, they are going to make me to run mad. I do not want to be seen running mad in South Africa. I don't want to go around confessing to people that this is what I did. This woman, I love her. I just want to know, am I supposed to confess to him so that I can tell him that this is what I did? Must I sit down with her even tonight and open up to her and to tell him that I am about to sacrifice the baby that is growing inside of her womb, and it seems as if I do not have any choice in the matter, because if I try to cheat these Tokoloshes, they will end up killing me because they've already given me a due date to do it, and if I do not do it, then they are going to kill me. I'll be following in the comment section, Brother Nashi. Your dear listeners, right there was a message that was sent to us by one of our dear brother. Let us speak with our brother in the comment section. Since you say that she is someone that goes to church, she prays, how about you sit down with her and tell her the truth that this is what you got yourself involved in. Maybe there is a reason as to why God made you to meet such a woman, as you are saying that she has a good heart, she is prayerful. Sit with her down and tell her the truth, and then you can see what she will say, but please do not continue with those sacrifices. Dear listeners, let us speak with our dear brother in the comment section. I'll be back with another episode.